Okay guys, so as promised, this is a video that is going to demonstrate the creation of a basic Java application with graphical user interface that accesses a database, a MySQL database. So first we create a new project and we'll just use the Ant project creation. So Java application, click on next. Now we give it a project name. I'll just call this JDBC GUI Demo, and in our main class just call this launcher. Click on finish. So here we're going to import our library. Since I already created a library from within my libraries here, and there's already a MySQL JDBC driver here, I can use this library. So here I right click and add library, and just point to MySQL JDBC library and add library in there. So there's already a MySQL JDBC driver there, and this is the version 8, which contains the CJ package name. Next is we'll create our form or window. So right click and click on new and JFrame form, and then we'll just call this user viewer and click on finish. And here are gonna design our graphical user interface. First, let's put a label and stretch this out to each sides so that when you resize it, it's going to resize with the tape or with the window. And we'll just set this text to horizontal alignment to center, and just change our font to something larger, maybe 18 and bold, or 24. Okay, and then change the text of that into users viewer. Okay, and then let's now provide our other fields. So we'll have here a label. This is for our username, and another label for this one is for the full name. Another label for the email, and well, just for this demonstration, we're also going to display the password. Next is we put our text field into the fields here. So we'll start with this guy, and we'll make sure that it's going to stretch out to the other side so that it will resize with it. Okay, and then we empty this text here, and what we can do is copy them. So just right click and copy, and then paste by pressing Ctrl V, and let's just align it here. There you go. Let's check if our okay. Next we put a button. Just have this button here. This will be our previous button, and just copy and paste this, and put this again on the other side. Have this called as next, and so it's gonna be like that. Now we can give this a name. So right click, change variable name to username field. We'll be doing this for all the components that we need to access programmatically. So here, email field, and this one is password field. Also for our buttons, this is next button, and this is previous button. So we're done with designing our user interface. Now we are going to go behind this user interface and into the source code. So we can do that by clicking on the source here. All right, so first thing we need to do is to get a connection. We have to make a connection. So let's import those things that we need. Import. By the way, let's first create a class that will generate our connection, or shall we do that here? I just do it here. Everything will be here. But of course, let me remind you that this way of designing an application is not the correct way. This is not the desired or the ideal way of writing your Java application. I will just be excused for doing this at the moment because this is just one simple example and demonstration. So we'll just be cheating a little bit in terms of the design of our application. So I will just be putting everything inside this user viewer class. So we'll have our driver manager. Oops. It has to be java.sql.driver manager. And then let's paste 3 of them. We'll have the connection. We'll also have the statement. And finally, result set. So these are the classes that we'll be using. That's taken from our JDBC API. So of course, in our constructors, this is where we're going to grab our connection and get the data from the database. So we'll have here a result set declared from the outside so that the result set can be accessed by other methods, since we'll be accessing them when we click on the button. So inside here, we're gonna create our connection, and it has to be inside of a try-catch clause. First, we identify the driver, so we have to say class.for name, and our driver identity is com.mysql.cj.jdbc.driver, right? And then we are going to generate a connection. So we'll have connection cxn is equal to driver manager dot get connection, and we'll be using this method here with 3 strings. The first string is the URL, and it's going to be JDBC colon MySQL colon / and then the host at which our MySQL is hosted. In this case, we'll be using just localhost. And next is the database name, which in this case is sales. Our user is going to be root, and the password is an empty string. And then from the connection, we are now going to create a statement. So statement st is equal to cxn dot create statement. Now that we have a statement, we can now issue an SQL command to just get all the users from the users table. st.execute query, and the query is simply select asterisk from users. Okay, and of course the result of this statement is going to be a result set, so we assign this to a result set object rs equals to that result set. Save. So initially we are going to display the very first user, so we're going to point our result set to the next, which will automatically be pointing to the first record that we get from our database. And from there, we're going to execute a method that is going to fill out the data from the result set into the text fields in our GUI right here, the 4 text fields. So we first need to let's just call our method is going to be, we'll call this method fill data. Of course, this data is not this method is not yet existing. So let's create this method in a private void method fill data. We are going to call on the result set and paste or put the data into the text fields. So our text fields are named as what we did earlier. Its name is username field, full name field, email field, and password field. So that's what we're going to access with username field dot, and we're going to call the method set text to put the text inside. And the text that we're going to put is of course coming from the result set. So rs dot, and then we call the method get string. And in the get string, we are going to identify what field are we getting the data from, which in this case, since this is the username, is going to be username. And of course, this has to be inside of a try catch, because every time you do something with the result set, it has to be inside a try catch clause, because it is bound to throw an SQL exception. So we need to import SQL exception as well. It's not sensed anywhere here. Import java.sql.sql exception that guy, and we'll just print the stack trace. So let's complete this. 4 of them. The next one is the full name field, and here we put the full name. Next one is the email field, and here we put the email. And finally the password field, and here we put the password. And of course, it's a really dumb idea to display the password, but this is not really the actual the real purpose of this video. Is just to access data from the database and display it on a graphical user interface. So don't worry about showing the password. It's not really important in this example. So we have our field data, and so from here we can try running our program. So let me just go to the launcher, and in the launcher we're going to create a new instance of the user viewer. And have it shown viewer dot set visible true. Okay, so let's run this program. And we have here our viewer, but we have a problem with we have a null pointer exception on line number 44. So line number 44 is username field rs get string. That's wrong. In the field data, sorry, we're supposed to not declare rs here, so that the rs that will be given is the rs that was declared outside. Okay, run again, and we have here shown our output, but wala magtupong. I don't know why. Can fix that. Okay, there we go. So now let's add the functionality of moving to the next. So what the next button will do. So I just double clicked it to open up the method that will be executed on clicking. As you can see, it's next button action performed. So this is the next. Of course, we put it inside again a try catch clause. So here we're simply going to move to the next, and so we call rs.next, and from there we call fill data. But of course, this will not always be acceptable, because what if you are now at the last record? So when you move next, and you're already in the last record, that is not possible anymore. So the thing about this rs.next is it returns a boolean whether the move to the next record was successful or not. Let's see, if you put there next, it says boolean here. It means this will return true or false. It will return true. If the move to the next is successful, it will not. If it's not, it will return false. So you can just put this inside of an if statement, so that we will only fill data if the move to the next is actually successful, like so. And if it's not, we can just display a message. In a message dialog, we'll have this as the root, and the message is end of file. Just that. Ano lang. That. Okay. So that's what next will do. So let's try it out. Click on next. I see it's now in to the next, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. Now, previous. Right now we cannot do previous, because previous moves the cursor backwards. But now, at this point, our result set is actually a forward only result set. What does forward only? It means that the movement of our cursor within our result set is only moving forward. You cannot go backwards, and therefore previous is not an acceptable method. But we can fix that. And to fix it is just to add 2 additional parameters when we create a statement. And the first parameter is we're going to tell it that it is going to be an insensitive type of result set, and the other one is that in concurrency it's going to be a read only. So we can do that here by saying result set dot, and then we say type scroll insensitive, then comma result set dot, and then concur read only. So this means that it is going to be an insensitive. The result set will not be sensitive to changes on the database, and that under concurrent condition, in the concurrency, it is just a read only. So now our result set is no longer a forward only type of result set, and therefore we can now go back and go next and go whatever position in the result set we can go. So let's instead of saying first next, we'll change this to first. Now in our previous button, we can now execute, and let's just copy this code coming from the next button, and instead of going to the next, I'll just go previous. And then in our message, if going to the previous record is not possible, we'll just call this beginning of file. And let's try this out again. So you have our output, and we can go next. So the next, this is Eileen Johnson, and the next is Kaylee Skinner. If you go to previous, we should see Eileen Johnson, and it is. So you can actually go previous. But at the beginning, we say beginning of file. We can go next many times as we want. And at the end of it all, it says end of file. So this is just a very simple example of the use of JDBC to access database and manipulate it and use it and display it on a graphical user interface. Thank you so much for watching, and see you again in the next one.